How did you find the CPL teams in CONCACAF Champions Cup, their performances? Right, we saw
Because is Atletico Ottawa left?
it's only Ottawa that's left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Forge was very respectable with what they did, especially at home. Like, yes, we
Mm.
could talk about the weather, but what they had 8 starters, I want to say, from Tigres in their first match in Hamilton. Like, that's an impressive result, no matter the weather conditions, no matter what excuses out 3-1 or Tigres want to use in this conversation against Forge away in Canada, especially when Forge is in preseason still. They haven't even had their warm up to the regular season. Tigres are flying in form in Liga MX with Marcel Flores playing some great football. I think Forge did a great job with what they're running into and how they always seem to face Mexican giants to start off their year in the CONCACAF Champions League. Like, it's such a difficult ask for a team in the CPL to play Tigres, to play Chivas, to play all those big teams. They've done very well this year, I think, especially going to Mexico. And yes, they were down 2-0. They get that 2-1. It was so disappointing to see them get scored on immediately and the tie just get
Yeah.
wiped away, because it was there for them if they just locked in or focused, for a lack of better words. And Vancouver FC was unfortunate to see. Of course, they got wiped aside. They got kind of pummeled. And I know some people were saying it was a good result in Vancouver to lose 3-0, which no, it really isn't. Like, no football team's going to be like, yes, we got beat 3-0 and didn't really put up much of a fight at all. Like, for the wages, for the salary cap, for the amount you could spend, sure, it's a respectable 3-0, but any team isn't going to be proud of losing 3-0 and knowing you're realistically, mathematically out of it going to the second leg. So I kind of was a bit disappointed with the talk of being so proud of how they did in the first leg for Vancouver. But realistically, when you're the worst team in the CPL from the previous year and you're
Mm.
not even into the next season, fair play. But I thought I would have given Forge like a B. I would have given Vancouver FC probably a C. And I think Ottawa are going to have a good chance as well. They have a great squad in terms of the CPL,
Yeah.
and hopefully they can have a good run or at least a good first leg.
No, that's fair. Like, and whenever I see Forge go out respectfully, it makes me miss. And I kind of went on a rant with one of my videos before. I was like, it makes me miss like that qualification round where you get to see like the teams come through. And like, I don't want to like, and I know I've talked to people and people have asked me like, why does Canada get so many slots and then just loses in the first round? I'm like, well, someone has to be the Romanian team in Champions League, so that'll be us. All credit to Romanian teams, but I think having those teams having to go through, like I remember like Pacific going through that after they won, because I think when before they redrew it, the CPL winner would go through basically the Europa League, the Champions League, or like the Confederation League. I forget what it was called there, but then they would have to go play like home and away matches, and things were getting moved around. So yeah, you saw Pacific made it like I think 3 rounds in before they finally lost. I think it would have been to a Costa Rican side, but still, I think those types of experiences that helps your team, that builds the brand, and that widens like the awareness. Like, hey, you have yes your Forge and stuff. I think they miss having that, and I think Forge was a team that whenever they would finish top two, they'd be able to push through and have good runs in those moments. I think it's a competition that misses that, especially now when you see them going to the European model, the European schedule for the MLS. I wonder if they look at that again and say, maybe that's something we want to do to grow the game out a little bit or to expand it so that by the time it starts, or at least they deepen Championship Cup or continental football for them. Like, because man, I think Vancouver being there is a great story because the Whitecaps won a lot and then they got bumped up because CP, the Canadian Championship winner. But to see like a Vancouver then now have to go, you have your league games, but then Vancouver FC has to fly down to like say like Jamaica and take on one of the Caribbean teams and move on to the next round. And then from there, if they win that, then they play like a Costa Ricans and something like that, right? I think we miss that aspect because I think there is enough football that we could watch it. And I think if they wanted to grow it, instead of just, and it's another thing where you're so used to the Champions League in Europe, it's so drawn out. Champions Cup and CONCACAF literally feels like it starts in April and it finishes, and that's exaggeration, but it starts in February and it's done in May. Like the Champion Cup championship is the weekend before teams let players go for the World Cup this year, right? It's that condensed. Whereas like in Europe, it's starting from October, November, December, January, February, and then you get to that March, like it's a full year. I think they could do well to broaden it out and kind of stretch out. Do you think so, or did I just go on a rant for no reason here?
No, I think you're right. And also I think we could benefit from a second tier, not just the top level like what we have now with the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Why don't we make a not like kind of like what they do in Europe with the Europa League? Why don't we have
Yeah.
that in CONCACAF? Like I've been thinking about doing a video on the channel, like how I talk about more long, in-depth content, doing what it would look like for a second tier of CONCACAF Champions League or CONCACAF Europa League, like how that would look, what teams would be in it, how competitive it would be. Because I think it would be huge for the mid-table of Mexican sides, the mid-table of MLS teams, the CPL teams would be able to challenge more. I could be huge for your Central American sides as well. I think it would be a major thing, and then you have your winner from that competition go into the next competition next year, like they do in Europe. I think it would be a huge step forward for CONCACAF to be able to develop those teams, have another goal in mind, a prize at the end, a trophy that they can fight for, another continental title that, because realistically, are a CPL side going to win the Champions Cup? More than likely
More
not.
likely no. Yeah.
Yeah, we would all love to say yes, like there's that chance, but no. Like having that second title is, I think it'd be huge. Like we saw, for instance, with the Conference League in England, when West Ham won it, how massive it was for a side like West Ham to go out and win the Europa Conference League. Everyone looked at it as a small title, but it was huge for a side like West Ham to say we've won a European title. Can you imagine if Pacific or Vancouver or Ottawa won a continental title? It would be massive for Canadian soccer and for a casual to say we've won a continental title. But I think, like you say, changing the calendar would be especially huge to broaden the change in Canada, especially with the MLS changing schedule. I think it could really help the CPL if they can do that as well, especially for sides like Forge, Ottawa, Cavalry, who have built such a reputation now of making the Champions Cup for so long, that if you change the calendar for them to actually have the preseason to build into the year, then you're ready for when the Champions Cup comes, so that they're not walking into it fresh faced. And yes, they've had probably warm up games against university sides, against League One teams to prepare the best they can, but they're not getting the full Cavalry. You're not getting the full Ottawa in preparation to play in these tournaments. And who knows, maybe Forge could have gotten a 3-2 or a 3-1 against Tigres and could have nicked a goal in Hamilton if they were in full fitness, full preparation. And that is something we'll never know with this calendar style. And if they switch, like MLS is switching, I think it would really help the league just in player progression, because we've seen them move to Sweden for so many times now with Matteo Di Bria,
Yeah.
Sam Salter, right? Because of the calendars. You switch it, who knows? Maybe they're moving to the MLS. Maybe they're moving to Scotland, England more often and fighting to get that jump. But I think those are two real major conversations around the CPL as well as the continental titles.